I believe that does begin with career education early on, even into the middle school and high school. And myself and my colleagues across the country who run community organizations such as Oregon Tradeswomen's, we do a lot of that work. But another barrier is the industry's continued sort of macho attitude and toxic job site culture that drives good tradeswomen and people of color to leave the industry when those kinds of behaviors are allowed to become part of our workplace. And the efforts underway and referenced in the memorandum of agreement between the U.S. Department of Transportation and Department of Labor earlier this year, referencing the need for additional equity measures and anti-harassment measures is certainly key in retaining qualified, skilled, and diverse workers. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Under competitive bidding laws, federally assisted construction contracts are generally required to be awarded to the lowest cost bidder. Prevailing wage requirements ensure that federally assisted projects are not awarded to unscrupulous contractors who underbid the competition with low wages or poor benefits for workers. Mr. Booker, can you discuss the impact to construction workers if prevailing wage requirements are not in place? And do prevailing wage requirements only benefit union members?
Prevailing wage requirements benefit all workers. And in the communities where the wages are higher, it lifts the wages for whether or not you're a union worker or not a union worker. That's what the governing, what the mark is. And like Kari testified earlier, the wage rates, the prevailing wage in her home state are far below what's going on out there and what people are being paid. So the prevailing wage boosts the economy. It boosts the worker. We're talking, you know, how do you fight inflation? How do you do that? Cutting wages is not the way to do that. Making sure that people have a job with dignity, a job with a healthcare benefit, a job with a pension. That's how you counter these things. And making sure that you value and you treasure the people who are applying their skills day in and day out. That's who we represent. And that's what we do day in and day out.
Thank you. Director Liu, as you know, the IIJA provided new authority for states and cities to implement contracting requirements that address local needs on federally assisted infrastructure projects. Why is it necessary for states and cities to have these types of flexibilities in setting the terms of their construction contracts?
Thanks for the question. And, I think looking at the issue I addressed in my testimony, it's really important that when we think about building infrastructure projects, we think about those as fitting into a context as part of a community, right? We all talk about infrastructure spending in terms of big numbers and big job numbers. What that means is that every dollar we put in supports somebody's employment. And if we're trying to make sure that there's equity in the way that that's distributed, having these mechanisms to sort of put the jobs in the places that are also bearing the impact of the project is really important.
Unfortunately, Director Liu, my time has expired, but I would love to get this full answer so that we can have it on the record.
Absolutely. Happy to submit a longer answer for the record.
Thank you so much. Mr. Fitzpatrick is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Mr. Booker, good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us today. In your opening statement, you had mentioned registered apprenticeship programs. I, along with many of our huge supporters of the building trades, I'm a big believer in these programs, and I believe they can help us have that skilled workforce that we need to be competitive in the future. And it's critical that the next generation of workers be as specialized as the current ones. You mentioned that your registered apprenticeship programs offer a debt-free career path. So I have really a three-part question. Could you tell us what costs are covered and which costs aren't? Second, are apprentices themselves responsible for any costs associated with the program?